Why do you want to join the circus, Lance? I like to entertain and have had experience. I was a stage magician for years. I felt like trying something new for a while. We have a lot of people coming to me asking to join the circus because they want to run away with it. I'm glad to hear you aren't one of them.
You can bunk in Harry's caravan.
What do you want, Craig? I got you a housemate. Lance is joining the circus. What does he do? He's a magician and sword swallower. He wants to be a clown according to his resume. I'll help him.
Lance smiled, feeling slightly guilty he had come to kill Harry as a serial killer clown. Harry had not been caught or even suspected yet, but Lance's boss Fate knew and sent Lance to stop Harry's reign of terror.
This is Lance Alexander. Harry Jenkins is our head clown at the circus.
Harry let them in his caravan and shook Lance by his hand.
Welcome to the family, Lance.
Harry said, noting Lance was trembling nervously.
You don't have to worry. We don't bite.
Harry lied, knowing he was a vampire, and Lance knew it. Lance smiled amiably. He had nothing against vampires. He raised his niece. She was a vampire, as was her husband and daughter. The thing he didn't like was killers who didn't care about life and the living. Harry didn't care for either. Harry was just being polite and covering for himself.
I look forward to seeing your act before you are let in the show. Me too, to be honest.
Lance said, trying to keep up the pretense of being nervous so his true intentions weren't suspected.
Do you have a costume? No, but I think I can wrangle one up.
Lance planned to enchant a costume with magic, real magic. He was a great and powerful enchanter, not that he looked it.
It's all right, boy,
Harry said, trying to calm the younger-looking man. Lance was much older than he seemed. He was 900 years old, but he looked in his mid-20s and had looked that old since he was in his mid-20s. Harry was 200, but looked 40, which was the age Harry had become a vampire. Lance knew Harry was younger, but kept up the pretense of young age. Lance smiled. Later in the big top, Lance stood holding a big great sword.
Aren't you going to use a smaller sword?
Lance laughed.
No, I like this sword.
Lance wanted an excuse to be armed in case Harry misbehaved or found out why he was there.
But isn't it too big?
Harry, not wanting to see Lance kill himself, was squeamish.
No. Have you done this before?
Harry asked nervously.
No.
Lance said, undaunted.
Are you ready?
Craig asked, walking into the tent.
Yes.
Lance said confidently, playing with the sword.
To prove it's a real sword, I shall now do an old Zorro trick.
Lance waved the sword and cut a candle with its blade. Harry felt worse, thinking the kid had a death wish. Lance noticed it. This made Lance more confident and brazen. He liked messing with people's minds. Lance swallowed the sword and removed it in an extravagant, swift, sweeping move as if it was nothing. Harry watched on with amazement.
How did you do it?
Harry asked in awe of the trick, which was a basic magic trick for Lance.
A magician never reveals his secrets. I'd have to kill you if I told you how it was done, but I'd happily try it on you.
Lance said. Harry laughed uncontrollably, thinking Lance was only joking, but Lance was being deadly earnest.
You kill me,
said the laughing vampire. Lance grinned and chuckled darkly. Lance got the job.
Now we send in the clowns to amuse and amaze us,
said Craig in the now sawdust-covered ring.
Please welcome our newest clown, the Great Whodunit,
said Craig, unsure how the name would be taken by the audience.
He is a magical clown,
Craig added. On ran a clown in a flowing black cape in blue with a long ruffled collar on his neck, waving a great sword in the air, while stagehands were placing a candelabra out for him, and then they ran away. The clown, Lance, then slashed the candles, cutting them in half, proving the realness of his sword.
You go, boy.
Lance looked at them. It was his father who came to see the performance. Lance's heart raced. He was happy to see a friendly face. In one fell swoop, like a crane in a flowing light cape, Lance swallowed the sword. The audience went quiet. Harry watched in wonder from behind a partly open crack in the tent. Lance stood a moment still with the sword in him for tension, and then swept it out and bowed, putting the sword into a scabbard he was wearing, and out came the two other clowns, Harry and Georgina. Harry, Lance and Georgina all clowned around for a while. The audience roared with laughter. It all went wrong when Lance pulled a real red rose out of thin air. Bowing, he gave it to Georgina. The clown Georgina smiled and then felt a prick on her finger. She ignored it as they were performing. Harry noticed the finger had blood on it. The sight and smell of blood drove him mad. He swooped in and attacked her bleeding finger.
You won't get away this time, vampire.
The father ran to the side of the ring and leapt over. The screaming Georgina fell dead. The vampire turned to Lance, his next intended victim.
You ate a clown, did that taste funny?
Asked Lance darkly. While the vampire was distracted, Lance swiftly pulled his sword out and sliced off his head. The audience didn't know what was going on, if it was an illusion or real. They waited for the clown to rise from the sawdust, which absorbed their mingled blood. Lance and his father just disappeared into thin air.
Did the clown taste funny? Really, Necromancer?
Said the father, before they disappeared. The penny dropped. The great whodunit was the famous serial killer who killed bad people, the Necromancer. Craig went white with fear and rage.
It's all part of the show, don't panic!
He cried, expecting all hell to break loose.